The prayer is ready, but we need someone to read it. To say the prayer, I mean. Okay. Any volunteer, anyone? Okay, Michelle.
Let's put ourselves in the presence of the Lord in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord Jesus, what weakness did you see in us that make you decide to call us, in spite of everything, to collaborate in your mission? We give you thanks for having called us, and we beg you not to forget your promise to be with us to the end of time. Frequently, we are invaded by the feeling of having worked all night in vain, forgetting perhaps that you are with us. We ask that you make yourself present in our lives and our work today, tomorrow, and in the future yet to come. Fill with your love these lives of ours, which we put at your service. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Morning
Okay.
po.
Morning po.
Good
All
morning.
right. Today is our second day of second week of classes, and this is we're going to start with our module 1 today. But before we do that, I think we have some classmates or part of our class that needs to introduce themselves. So before we do anything, we will start with a little introduction from those, okay, first, those who have not said anything last week or did not have a chance to say what they want to say, like, for example, the level or the school they're working and the subjects they are teaching. And secondly, the other one is if you think that there is something that you miss telling us last week and you would like to say to us today, go ahead and say it at this part. Okay, so we will go first with, are there anyone in this class who has not say anything last week or who did not have an opportunity to say something last week? Anyone? Newcomer?
Yes, hello.
Hi. Hi, Father.
Yes, good morning. I'm sorry I missed the first session. And I am Father Bert Boholst. I am a Jesuit assigned here in East Timor for 8 years. And now, actually, I am supposed to return to the Philippines. But because of the pandemic, I am forced to stay for a while. So I was the head of school for junior high and senior high here in East Timor, our new school. Uh, and now the East Timoris have come, so I have to return back. And part of my assignment is to do this professional updating. So my province requires me to join this, but I'm happy and I'm enjoying following. This is my first time, so still a bit adjusting. And we are so Jurassic here, so I hope I'll learn more with this course. Thank you.
Father, were you a teacher before? Or are
Yes.
you a teacher right now?
Now, before I used to teach science in the Philippines, but when I came to East Timor, they asked me to do the administration as director of the school. So I am forced to just stay in the office.
Okay, okay. So I know East Timor is one of the places that probably needs a lot of help, but at the same
Yes,
time is improving. Okay,
yes,
I know there is a media center there.
yes,
Yeah, I remember when I was in Signis, Father, I used to work with someone who is from there. Okay,
yes, yes.
yeah. So welcome to our class, Father Robert.
Thank, thank
Okay,
you
we are
very
happy
much.
to be with you, and these are your friends and classmates. We thought last week that our farthest students came from Cagayan de Oro and Tarlac. Now we have somebody, over the bakod, nandun pa pala siya sa East Timor. Okay, so welcome
Nakulong.
again, Father. We hope you will be with us every Saturday until you're able to come home. Okay,
Thank you very much.
okay, and just follow us, and we are here for everybody and for you as well. All right, anyone else?
Hi.
Anyone else?
Hi,
Hi.
ma'am. Also, I was not able to attend the first meeting.
Okay.
Um, I am Angela, and I also work in Xavier School as a grade school teacher. Originally, I am assigned in the computer department, but because of the current situation, computer was removed in in the grade school department of Xavier School because the students are already using computers. So I was reassigned in the science department instead, and I am also assigned to help teachers in integrating technology in their online classes, especially that everyone's new to the current situation. So I really hope that I will learn a lot of things about integrating technology and share it to the whole community of Xavier.
Okay. Welcome to our class, Angela. And I hope you were able to see our module 0 and follow it.
Yes, ma'am.
No problem.
No, no problem so far.
Okay. All right. So are you a teacher right now in science? Yeah. Grade school?
Yes,
Grade
grade
school.
school. Grade
Okay.
school, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else who would like to say anything? Mayroon pa bang gusto magsalita dyan na hindi nyo nasabi last week pero gusto nyong sabihin ngayon? Okay. Wala na. So everybody has introduced themselves. So Angela and Father, through the weeks, you will come to know more about your classmates, probably from some recitation, some of the discussion things that you put on the discussion board. So you'll be able to see who they are and what they are doing, okay, as well. So if you want to know anything in particular, you let us know so that we will be able to help you, because this is part of online classes wherein you have to articulate to us what exactly you miss or what exactly you want to happen, okay? Because hindi namin kayo marinig as a class, okay? So yun. So also today, it is important that we just don't go ahead and teach right away. And if you are in your own school today, I think that is also one of the things that we try to in, to introduce. And even before, when we had the regular classroom, we always start our class with a little kumustahan. Okay, so how are you today? So we would like to hear from people. How was your week? What are some of the very interesting things that happened to you? One or two sentences. Not those who like to share with us. The we are open to listen to you. Okay? Kumusta? Kumusta ang mga bagay-bagay? Kumusta ang ating week? Bago tayo mag-umpisa, kasi baka naman mayroon diyan na kailangan sabihin sa atin kung ano nangyayari, happy ba siya, malungkot ba siya, mayroon ba siyang konting feelings of anxiety, and if you want to share with us, we are here to listen. Para we level up before we start. Okay, start now. Anyone?
Sige ma'am, mauna na po ako.
Oy, King
Yan.
Stuart!
Hello po everyone.
Hi!
Yes ma'am.
King Stuart is our beadle. Okay.
Yes po. Nag-attend po ako kahapon ma'am nung sa trading po ng Bibel.
Okay,
Ayan.
good. Thank you.
Ayan, medyo nakakatuwa po kasi marami din po akong nakitang mga fellow Beatles din. So, yun po, syempre bago po ako magsimula, gusto ko po kamustahin po muna lahat. Yan, sana po lahat po kayo maayos. Kasi ako po, as of the moment, I am kind of stressed po because nalaman ko na hanggang Monday to Sunday yung schedule ko. Pero, nabawi yung yung disappointment ko towards work. It's because nakita ko po yung pananim ko, may tumubo ng prutas. So, yung mga ganun po, masaya na po ako nun. Tumubo na po yung sayote ko at saka yung mga sili. Yan.
Wow, galing.
Yun lang po.
Okay, good. Okay. Anyone else who likes to share? Hindi naman namin tawagan yung mga hindi gusto mag-share. Siyempre, there will be other time. Pero if you like to share like this one, wow, galing, may sayote siya. So baka mayroon siyang tinolang manok.
Ma'am, I'll share na lang po. Then,
Okay.
Rosie.
Rosie, how are you, Rosie?
Yeah. Good morning po. For the past week, I was happy and was able to kind of relax because I had a lot of asynchronous classes. So we're towards that part of our quarter that we're towards the end of the quarter already. So most of the tasks are assigned to the kids to, and the classes are used for them to work on their projects. So madaming asynchronous. So that's we were able to kind of breathe from all the synchronous classes we had to see. But of course, there are a lot of things piling up to be checked as well. So that's what I'm planning to do in the next few weeks.
Okay. So, maraming asynchronous, so the teacher will not really have to face them all the time. Okay. One more?
Hi, ma'am.
Yes.
Ako po, I'm actually struggling right now kasi may school event kami. And ako yung inassign na technical. So, I'm doing two things at the same time. Pero, ayun, I'm passing it on to one person so that he will be able to do it on his own. So, yung phone ko, naka-on siya for any technical troubleshooting. Kaya, pero so far naman po, walang inquiry on,
So there is an event in your school right now?
Yes po. It was supposed to be in the afternoon, but because parents requested that it be transferred to in the morning. So the school responded na, sige, let's just transfer it to at 10 a.m. And yesterday lang na-decide na, sige, we'll do it at 10. so I know it was also too late for me to tell my colleague what things should be done. So, maaga na lang akong gumising today para lahat po ng technical aspects ma-plan siya before the event started and before our class started. So, it's really has been a struggle kasi it's also a balance between, giving in to the request of the parents because of course they're also struggling, and at the same time we need to make sure that our students are well supported as well. So the online classes plus um, all the tasks that needs to be done, it's a little bit of a struggle to juggle, pero okay lang, surviving.
Okay. I think you are not alone in this, okay? Yeah. I think so many of us are like that right now because things that we can actually ask somebody to do and delegate and see it. Now we are doing it from one point, and that is our home. Okay?
Yes po.
But okay, that's good. Buti na lang nga may gadgets tayo, may phone, may tablet, may ganyan, di ba? So
Yes
you're able
po.
to do that. Can we hear just one more? Just one more, the last one. Anyone?
I'll share po.
Sige. Go.
Hi, ma'am. Actually, ma'am, ako, para pong sobrang pagod ako this week. It's just so happened that I started my TESDA training last Monday, and there are tasks each day that I need to finish. It's 2 hours synchronous class, but supposed to be po kasi 8 to 5 yon. Pero yung synchronous po is 2 hours lang, and then the rest would be asynchronous na po. I also do have work in school, like I am the LIS coordinator. So medyo marami na pong pinapaasikaso for the enrollment of the students, for the other paperworks na kailangan pong ma-submit and maasikaso. So, medyo ano po, sobrang na-stress din po ako. And at the same time po kasi 'di ba po nagpa-part-time po ako as a teacher in a private school. So, I need to create an exam na po which would be taken on the 25th September 25th. So medyo yun po yung mga task na kailangan kong tapusin this weekend. So hopefully matapos and surviving pa rin naman po and I was able to manage my time for studies for our class and yun, yung mga work po. Pero medyo nakakapagod po kasi halos buong linggo puyat-puyat po. So, yun. Actually, ngayon, yung mata ko mahapdi pa. Parang gusto pa niya matulog. Pero, I have to wake up myself and nakaluto na po ako ng ulam for lunch kasi po hanggang lunch po ito. So, yun, mommy duties po. So, but then, thankful pa rin po kasi there would be new learnings that I will be getting from our class kasi nung binasa ko po yung module natin so there's still more to learn for today's lesson so I'm looking forward for it po.
Okay, thank you. So, that's about it for today in terms of kumustahan. Okay, so mamayang hapon, pag mayroon tayong ibang opportunity, so others can also share. All right, so now, Sir Bong and I talked before our class and we talked also after our class last week and then we also talked on Monday and so we were thinking that it is important for us to go through the module, okay, with you. We know very well that as graduate students, you know how to read and you know what it means, but I think part of what we wanted to do is to reflect with you, go through with you, whatever we thought we are putting there, because we did not just put it there to fill out the space, okay? And we would like you to understand why we did it that way, okay? And so that you will be able to follow as we go through this very challenging way of doing and learning, okay, which is an online learning. Now, probably for those of us who have been to distant learning, it might be as difficult. But for many of us, this is something really new, both for teachers and for students alike, and for you teachers also, and your students alike, okay? So, I like to remind you that our lesson for today, okay, this week is really going to cover course learning outcomes. One, which describes 21st century vis-a-vis education of the Z and Alpha generation. We are also going to work on the course learning outcome of applying concepts, models, framework in media technology. And last one, we are going to utilize the different media and technology for instruction. We are going to learn how to utilize it, but we are not going to do it. We are not going to do all these objectives right now. We are not going to get our pen and do a lesson plan right away, no. But what we are saying in this course learning outcomes is that little by little, we are trying to understand what we are supposed to do so that our end product of being able to integrate media, okay, applications in our lesson will be achieved, okay? So what did we do to be able to achieve these three objectives, okay, that we place in our syllabus as objectives for module 1, okay? Sir, can we have the next slide? No, the next slide. Isa pa. Don't tell me, hindi ito. Wala yung mga ano, sir? Oh my, is this the one I sent you? Sir Bong, that's the latest I sent you?
Sorry, ma'am, sandali lang po. I
Okay,
think
thank you.
it was the wrong one.
Okay, sorry.
Sa dami na ng versions ko.
Sa dami ng versions pinadala, sa dami ng version, balik-balik kami ni sir. That is what happens when you have a team teacher, okay? And I appreciated that. I like to have team teachers, not in all subjects, but there are certain subjects that team teaching can be really good, okay, and really nice. And there are subjects that probably you would like to stand alone, okay? But this one we appreciate kasi matagal na rin kami partner ni Sir sa ganito. So nasanay na rin kami na even though we were face to face, ganun din. We always try to maximize the knowledge that these are the students in our class and these are the things that we want to do for them.
Got it na, Ma'am Del.
Okay. Ang isang quality na kailangan natin is patient dito sa ating. Okay, so yan. So the module of the 21st century, which we planned and Sir put it in your canvas, is we are going first to look into the 21st century education by you looking since last Wednesday on understanding some critical attributes of the 21st century education. Okay, if I remember right, this particular work is due not yesterday, not today, but still on the 23rd. Okay. However, I'm very happy, kami ni Sir, because yesterday we were already able to read a lot of some of you writing the attributes and what are some of the activities or some of the things that you're going to do in that particular attribute. And then you're also telling us if you are really doing it in your school or some of you have already mentioned that some of you are not doing it in your school, which is fine, okay? So why did I put this important thing and not going to discuss it right now, but asking you to continue looking into it, reflecting on it, writing something about activities of the attributes? It's primarily because this will lead to the lesson that we are going to prepare. Okay, eventually when we are going to do integration of media applications in our lessons or existing lessons, we are going to refer back to your what we call activities that you think you are doing for 21st century learners. Okay, so hindi ibig sabihin na after this module today, close a module. No, that is not how it is for our class. We are going to use this module also until the end. Okay, some of the topics here will be repeated and will go on until we finish on our last week. Okay, and then later on, Sir is going to explain about this next one. You'll explain it later, Sir? No? Content is king. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And then we will, after that, we're going to go into the framework of 21st century learning. Okay. And this framework of 21st century learning will help us understand the whole idea of what 21st century is all about. Why is it so important today? Why do we start our lesson with 21st century learning? Okay. And then right after that, there's going to be wise mapping. Okay, something different, but connected to 21st century learning. Okay, and if you notice, I placed there processing of an understanding, like we thought that it might be important for you to give us like tags, and later on we will be talking about it, to give us a little bit about tags that probably will contribute to our understanding and design of a teacher right now. What would be a teacher for the 21st century that we are looking for? Okay? Even though if we say, napabilis nga tong aming paka 21st century with the COVID-19, but still, it would be nice for us to articulate what it is. Okay? Before, we are going to think about and work on framework, not framework, but framework or model of a media integration. We will start with just one model today. And of course, there is a statement that we would ask you to look into because we would like you to reflect on that statement that was placed there earlier. So this whole module is about 21st century, and we are looking into two frameworks. One is the framework for 21st century, and the other one is the framework or model for media integration. And the first framework we are going to discuss today, the framework for model of media integration as well. Okay? So, yon. So, siguro later on, if there is any question that you would like to pose for us, you can also use the chat box to ask us some questions that you probably want us to answer. Or if there are none, we still have our afternoon session to after this. Okay, we are going to go through this whole module today, and then in the afternoon we are going to meet you because we will also like to know how your understanding was and how else we can be of help to you. Okay, so yon. So wala bang tanong? Mukha namang wala. Okay. So, I'll turn over now to Sir Bong.
Okay. Oops. Previous. Okay, what I'll do for today, and I'll stop sharing from Ma'am Del's slide, is I'll pick up from activity and process a little bit activity that we asked you to do in Module 0. And that activity was discuss the new normal. Okay. So Ma'am Del and I were reading through some of your comments, some of your team, some of the stories that you had. And Ma'am Del and I did agree na ang ganda ng mga stories ninyo. At the end of the day, there were a lot of feelings that were said. There were a lot of sometimes frustrations that were also mentioned. It could be a frustration either at a personal level. It is a frustration at the system level. It could be a frustration to the school or even to the technology that you were using. But at the end of the day, what is also enlightening and happy for us was that there was a sense, although it sounded as though you were ranting, the general sense of everyone was that there was a positive change happening. Or even if the statement was not even though the statement was positive, there's a sense of hope in the sense na nandito na tayo, let's make do with what we have and do the best with the situation right now, with whatever resources that we have right now. And personally, that speaks not only of our resiliency, but at the end of the day, the whole resiliency of the Filipino culture and Filipino community. I've been reading a lot of articles about how other countries are not moving along. The community there is having difficulty in terms of catching up in their educational system and so on and so forth. But at least for us, and you are a sample of those teachers, there are, how do I call it, glimmers of hope. And what I did, and because I am a technologist, I approached it in two ways. One is I created what do you call this, a word cloud. Okay, so for those who do not know what a word cloud is, a word cloud is simply of image where the words that are found in a text is visualized. The larger the word, the more instances that word was mentioned in the document. Okay, so with that, and I'll stop sharing because I have two things to show you. The first word cloud would really be this. Oops, not this one. Sorry, not this one. This one. Okay. So I'll share this screen. Share screen. This one. So when we did this, when I did the word cloud, and I'll teach you the app later this afternoon for those who don't know how to create this one, is when I applied the word cloud to all of your statements, these were the things that came out. The most common words are everything that deals with the typical one, regardless of whether it's synchronous or asynchronous, the concern about our students and you as teachers. Okay. But something that was very much highlighted are two additional words, school and learning. Okay. Why school? Uh, when we looked at your statements, okay, and your sharing, what we found out was that there were a lot of changes happening in your own school. Okay? And most of the comments would involve things like there was training happening in your school. The school established new systems. The school dealt with this particular situation in this manner. Along the way, what also came up was as these changes were happening, learning was also paramount. So those four keywords were always there. And if I ask if we reflect on it, these same words might also appear even if we did not have this pandemic coming in. The new thing that's added to this word cloud that for us will be relevant to our discussion would be the next bigger words, which are new, online, and classes. And surprisingly, again, those words kept on repeating and repeating and repeating because of our situation right now. Okay. So it was interesting as to what were the common words and themes that were coming out. Okay. Later this afternoon, I will show you how this will work. Okay, how to create the word cloud. And second one, for those who are interested in doing big data, I will also teach you a tool that will do a big data text analysis of your discussion. So there's a tool that does text a thematic analysis of all of your statements, okay, and all of your discussion statements. Now, so that's interesting. The reason why I showed that, okay, and can you see my screen right now, which is content is king to everyone? I just need a thumbs up for everyone. Okay, so no one can see this one. Let me share this one again. Okay, so that's the first one. With online classes coming in, which is what we saw in your discussion, what we decided to also add in module 1 is the concept of, in this 21st century education right now, not everyone, or before this pandemic happened, sorry, the teacher is front and center. We are what you call the sage on the stage. Okay, that's the term that they usually they use. We are sages on the stage because we are always front and center. The content normally comes from us. But in this new environment with the pandemic happening, we have been relegated to the side. So we are right now being asked not to be sages on the stages, but guides on the sides. Because if all we were doing in class is giving out content, in this environment, our students are so good that they can actually search the content on their own. I've had a college teacher of mine say, alam mo bong, yung tinuro ko ng isang period na math problem, it's a very complex math problem, nakakita daw siya sa YouTube ng equivalent. It was presented in a cartoon method, and what he taught in 1 hour, that cartoon was able to communicate in 15 minutes. Much more effectively, he thinks, than what he did. And he was sure na, feeling ko, nakita neto ng mga estudyante ko dahil feeling ko nahilo sila sa lecture ko. So for all of us, we might have been, well, at least the older generation of teachers, we might have been very much afraid of being guides on the side. We lose that sense of ako ang hari dito sa aking domain, which is the classroom. But right now, the physical classroom was lost. This is a different classroom. It's a digital classroom. And if the teacher or I am not as interesting, I don't have interesting stories, I am not engaging enough, I will lose all of the students who are here. Okay. So what I did was I looked at different links which illustrated that even though you are no longer the sage on the stage, you can ask your students to go to these sites, learn on their own, and because it is so engaging, they will come back more to you, not to learn the content, not the who, what, when, where, but rather the whys and the hows. So there is this page or section in Module 1 called Content is King. And in that page, I showed you 4 different content links. Actually, there are just 3. One is Khan Academy. The second one is CK to 12. And the third one is Google Experiments. If you if you had a chance to go through any of these sites, you would see that these sites have already pre-made content that you can use at any point in your lecture. And they have the drills necessary for students to try out. And if they succeed in those drills, they can move on to a higher concept and higher concept and higher concept. What we intend to do there is start off from that content. That content supposedly is going to be essentially always your starting point or an experimentation point. And then once the student gets interested and you meet with them, then you can either give them a higher level case, situation, or problem, or you use whatever they learned there as a jumping point for discussion. Okay? And this is where my favorite method, my favorite site comes in. And I will stop my sharing and I will go to that favorite site. It is part of Google Experiments. Okay? And that site is, and I will go to that page, sorry. That one I was not ready to show. But the one that I'd like to show, Content is King, is Experiments with Google. Okay? So, Experiments with Google is a site which contains a lot of AI, artificial intelligence, virtual reality type of activities that teachers can use as mini experiments. And the one that I always like to show is Play with Arts and Culture. Okay. No, sorry, it's not in Play with Arts and Culture. I think this is it. Where is it? There. Sorry. Experiments with Google. It's the third one. And the one that I usually start off is the Crow Music Club. If you go to the Crow Music Club, and this is a music class, okay? Imagine yourself teaching music and the topic is beats and rhythm. What you have here is just simply a very blank music sheet without the treble clef, without the G clef, without notes there. And what the student will just simply have to do is run his mouse, hit play. And you can speed up the tempo or make it slower.
Sir, we can see the ano.
Sorry, you can't view the presentation. Sorry.
Wala po siya sa screen.
Sorry. My mistake. Sorry. Here. This is Google Experiments. This is the song maker. So all I just did was, and I can remove all of this. Okay. Okay. So, well, some of you say you cannot hear the sound. Here it is.
Narinig po, sir.
Okay, naririnig na? Okay. And all a teacher will have to do, let me just stop this, and all a teacher will have to do is simply ask the student, please go here and then try out this song maker and make your own rhythm, make your own beats. And this can already be a starting point to discuss the concepts of notes, of beats, of tempo. Okay. If I go to another experiment, and this is if you go this time to Access Mars, okay. Access Mars allows you, if you're a science teacher, to talk about another planet. So typically when we talk about planets, we tell them these are the 8 or 9 planets, and this is how this planet looks like. What this site allows a student to do is enter really what Mars looks like, depending on or based on the pictures taken by the Curiosity rover.
1. Main engine start.
So in
0.
this case,
And
it puts a
liftoff
story
of the Atlas V
to
with
a
Curiosity.
very sometimes dry discussion of a planet. Okay. So this is why content is king. On the internet, all of the content that you would need to discuss a class is already there. What you only need to do now is structure it in such a way that your students will be able to learn the concepts in a very structured manner. Because they presented it in an interesting manner, there might not just be a flow or structure to it. It is your role right now as a teacher
Hi, I'm
to be
Katie,
able to put that
NASA JPL research scientist on the
structure and
Curiosity mission.
story to it. Okay, so
Welcome
this is
to
how
Mars.
it looks like. Okay, so you can move.
This photo,
It's
taken
going
from the
to be a
Mars
little bit
Reconnaissance
slow
Orbiter, shows the
as
landing
it
site
goes
where you're
to you.
standing now. It also shows
Okay. Okay, so all you have to do is start clicking and it will start moving. Okay. So here you can already ask the students, what do you think of the topography of Mars? Do you think it's livable? And so on and so forth. So it becomes much more alive. And when Ma'am Del and I were teaching this, even in a face-to-face scenario, what we always tell our teachers, do not be afraid to go out there and search for content to spice up your discussion, because it is the content that will be your motivation and hook your students to the discussion. Okay? So that's the purpose of that slide, which is content is king. Or that section, not necessarily slide. I'll turn it over back to you, Ma'am Del, for the 21st century learners.
All right. So by the example that Sir started with us all, okay, this morning, we realized that our 21st century learners needs 21st century schools. And not only 21st century schools, but because we have 21st century learners, we need to have 21st century teachers as well. Okay, so I just want to hear from a volunteer. He already finished the work on tags. Okay, just one volunteer from the group who can tell us 10 tags that she placed in her paper. Okay, because I noticed that there are about 4 or 5 of you who have already started that. Okay, that particular work that we asked you to do, and then redefining the role of the teachers as well. So can I have one volunteer just to start off? Anybody who has that list with you right now? Sino yun hindi pa naka-recite? Baka gusto nyo mag-recite. Anyone?
Ma'am, I think I
Yes.
can.
Okay, Emil.
I'll just open the document.
Okay.
Okay. I will just open my document.
Sorry, ma'am, still opening.
Ma'am, can I go ahead if while they're still opening?
Who is
Rosie.
this?
Rosie po.
Rosie?
Yes,
okay, so we will have 2 to share, all right? Rosie and Emil. Emil, are you ready?
Rosie can go first. I'm still opening
okay.
the document.
Okay.
Mine is
Emil?
open na po, ma'am. So we can start na po. Yeah. Would that be okay, ma'am?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Sige po. So, mine, ma'am, all 10, no? I'll mention all my tags.
Yeah, just
okay?
read them.
All right. So, first, outcomes to experiences. Environment as support systems, critical thinking, collaboration, global classroom, change in education, connections, ultra-personalized learning approaches, teachers as supervisors or facilitators, and self-driven learners. That's
All
it.
right. Okay. Did you have one definition of how you redefine the teacher using 3 or more tags?
Yes, ma'am. My paragraph.
Can you read it?
Okay. So the 21st century learning teacher must act as supervisors or facilitators of the children doing their project-based tasks. These projects must be a way to turn learning outcomes into experiences that will enable students to use their critical thinking and collaboration skills. Teachers must be able to create learning environments that would act as support systems for the students to be self-driven learners and therefore be able to create a global change.
Okay, thank you. And Emil?
Okay, I will also be posting my 10 words on the chat box.
All right.
Sorry, 10 tags. And these are lifelong learning, student-centered classroom, transformative pedagogy, creative problem solving, collaboration, information and digital literacy, global learners, innovation, personalized learning, and digital and technology empowerment. And for my redefinition of the role of a 21st century teacher, it's that a 21st century teacher's goal is to perpetuate a transformative pedagogy that shifts away from traditional beliefs of education. The teacher must work to build and sustain a student-centered classroom to make learning more meaningful. This can be done through innovation and digital and technology empowerment anchored on developing 21st century skills like collaboration and creative problem solving. A 21st century teacher guides students to be global learners and instills in them the value of lifelong learning.
Wow, so beautiful. So you see that when you are going to look at the tags that you place, and you can get it from the readings that you make, you can get it from your personal experience as teachers. You can also, if you were able to watch the short clip that we put in the in your module 1, okay, you'll be able to see that there are many things there that will define and redefine the role that teachers have. Okay, now it doesn't mean that all of the tasks that you're going to put in that you're going to list is something that everybody will have to follow at this time. If you notice that nag-uumpisa pa lang yung ibang schools, into doing what we call 21st century learning. But you notice that napuwersa nga tayo at this time when the pandemic came, more and more schools were forced to do this rather than a lot of schools before were like sleeping into the idea that there is 21st century learning, but we are comfortable with doing just what we were used to do. Okay, so let us therefore look into the 21st century framework. Why there are a lot of tags that are really different from the tags of what we call traditional education, traditional teaching. If you remember, the short clip starts with the idea that for many years we were doing teaching according to 18th century, according to the 18th century. Okay, and then we were so comfortable with that. And probably if the pandemic never happened, we will still, and many of our schools will still be there. That's why we have what we call traditional schools. Then we have what we call personalized schools. We have some we call, this is one-on-one school. They gave all kinds of name, but it is still what we call the traditional way of teaching. So, sir, can we go to the slides on the 21st century framework? I think it's the next slide. All right. Okay, we see there this definition. Okay, we will look on to this again sometime. But one more, sir. The next slide. The next slide. All right. So this is the 21st century framework that we also ask all of you to look into. Okay, and if you look at that framework, you will see, sir, can you go back to that first slide? To the previous slide. The one with the diagram. No, this after this. Yes, okay. So if you look at this, there are what we call on top, okay, the three types of skills that they say we are in need today. Our students are in need today. And these are some of the 21st century skills that have been in many books, in many articles, in journals of education, researches, clips and films that we see. And primarily, we are talking about learning and innovation skills. And we are looking into life and career skills. And we are looking into information media and technology skills. What are they? Why are they the skills that are needed? What are they going to do? So for learning and innovation skills, learning and innovation skills increasingly are being recognized as those skills that separate students who are prepared for a more and more complex life and work environment in the 21st century. So we are looking into a more complex life and work for our citizens. And those which are not also are being mentioned. A focus on creativity, critical thinking, communication and collaborations is essential to prepare students for the future. So in this learning and innovation skills, there are what we call different things that we are looking into. And then for the information media and technology skills, people in the 21st century live in a technology and media suffused environment marked by various characteristics, including access to an abundance of information, which we have right now, rapid changes in technology tools, and the ability to collaborate and make individual contributions on an unprecedented scale. To be effective in the 21st century, citizens and workers must be able to exhibit a range of functional and critical thinking skills related to information, media, and technology. Okay, and as we see right now, this particular thing really forced a lot of citizens into it, a lot of what we call, especially those who are teaching, who are forming, who are mentoring, we were all into this. That's why nagsasalute sila, nako-congratulate sila, especially to many of our teachers who before would not even want to touch a computer, and right now they are all forced to do all these types of things. And hindi naman to nag-umpisa ngayon lang, as we all know, but then you also realize that it was not very difficult. It was not very easy to convince even school administrators, even teachers who have been doing well and teaching well using the traditional method into this type of importance for information, media, and technology skills. Now it's being recognized that it's really that important. And for the next one, which is life and career skills, which is also the skills that are needed for the 21st century, we are looking into today's life and work environment that requires far more than thinking skills and content knowledge. The ability to navigate the complex life and work environment in the globally competitive information age requires our students to pay rigorous attention to developing adequate life and what we call career skills. So these are the three what we call important skills that are very important in the formation of our young people today. Can I have the next slide, sir?
Dali lang, Ma'am Del.
Okay, thank you.
There.
So, so when we look at the skills, learning and innovation skills, and information and technology skills, and life and career skills, we see a lot of details, all right? For the learning and innovation skills, we have what we call the development of creativity and innovation, critical thinking and problem solving, communication and collaboration. And for the information, media, and technology skills, we are looking into information itself, media, communication, technology, literacy. We are talking about literacy. There are so many literacies that we need our students to really look into, and these are called what we call 21st century literacies. But one of them is really the media literacy. And when we look at life and career skills, we also see that we are supposed to look into helping our students work on flexibility and adaptability, initiative and self-direction, social and cross-cultural skills, productivity and accountability, and of course, leadership and responsibility. So these skills, knowledge, and expertise students should master to succeed in the work and life of the 21st century. If I look at this, I said, what were the skills taught to me many years ago? Saan ba kami dito? Saan ba yon? So, siguro naisip namin yung creativity konti, and then we also look into critical thinking, but it was not all because there was a lot of content teaching, okay? And if I remember well, during my time, and during the time I became a teacher, I said, why did my teacher put a lot of emphasis on content rather on teaching me the skills? And then when I was already a teacher, I already veered towards the idea that it's more important to teach the skill than the content. So how do I illustrate this? I remember very well when I was studying, if our teacher is going to teach us Romeo and Juliet, the test will be on Romeo and Juliet, the content of Romeo and Juliet. But right now, if you're going to teach Romeo and Juliet, you're going to teach the skills of understanding, reading between the lines, and all these things. And you're going to use another Shakespeare work to be able to understand or see whether your students got the skills of understanding the same work, okay? Not the same, exactly the same stories or the same work, but applying the skills that has been taught to them. So, napaka-importante pala ang skills. Okay, so more than 30 years ago, we were already talking about the importance of teaching the skills rather than the content. And then I remember very well, we have what we call skill subjects and content subjects. Okay, and para sa mga content subjects, akala nila memorization was the rule. And para sa mga skills subjects, doon namin ilalagay yung analytical and whatever development that we need to do. But right now, what we are seeing in the 21st century is that all our students need are what we call skills of learning, skills of innovation, skills of information, and including life and career skills. So how do we intend to do that? Okay, please next slide, please. Our next, okay. So look, we have what we call core subjects. Okay, English, reading, language, and some of language arts. Then we have what we call world languages and the arts, the math, economic science, geography, history, government, and civics are all what we call subjects that are really needed to be able to help us put all the skills of the 21st century into place. Okay, so we are not going to teach just those skills, but we are going to integrate that into the different subjects. And I think what we are saying here is that the different subject will hopefully be taught in a different way. If we have teachers here who has been teaching for more than, let us say, 20 years, probably this teacher will be able to identify that there could be some difference in the way subjects like English, world mathematics, etc. are being taught. Okay, now we are going to emphasize that you are going to include all the skills needed for innovation, creativity, and media and information and life and career into these subjects. Okay, now siguro part of you are looking into textbook kasi here in the Philippines, even if we are an online teaching, we are using textbooks. So probably some of you, especially if you are supervisors, it might be good for you to look into the textbook, whether those textbooks are also 21st century skills ready. Okay? Now, aside from that, we are looking into what we call themes that are needed also, and that is going to be as important as the different innovation skills that we were looking into, okay? And we were looking into themes of global awareness also, financial, economic, business, and entrepreneurial literacy that we think is very important for our students. We also think that civic literacy is also important for them, and as well as health literacies. If you look at these themes, this can make our curriculum, our subject, really very interesting, okay? If we're able to combine all this, I think it's going to make our subject really that interesting. Now, there are 21st century support systems that are going to help us look into accomplishing the different skills that we want to teach our students. So we have what we call 21st century standards and assessment. Okay, what are the standards that we have for 21st century learning and assessment? Okay, the Department of Education, the DepEd, have what we call lists of standards that they have. Okay, so some of the schools will depend on those standards. For some of us, especially those in the Catholic schools, they would like to add some more in terms of standards and assessment. And that is not bad. That is something that is welcome. That's why we have what we call school accreditations, because they look into more than just doing what the DepEd requires. Okay, so more into that. Then, of course, the other one that would really help in supporting the teaching of the 21st century skill will be our curriculum and instruction. How is our curriculum and instruction? What do we do along that line? And of course, the professional development of teachers, your professional development, and the learning environment that we have right now. So we are looking into all these things as important, this one, okay? They are very important to help us or to help support the teaching of 21st century skills. So if you look at the top, schools must move beyond a focus on basic competency in core subjects to promoting understanding of academic content at a much higher level by weaving 21st century interdisciplinary themes into the core subject. So this one, you whip it here, okay? And then with this help, then we will be able to get what we call our 21st century skills. I'm very sure that if you study the diagrams that we presented to you watch the short clip, you read through these, plus your experiences, it will help you understand very well why this is going to be easy for teachers like you, young as you are, to put this in your classroom. I also saw this in the new normal that you wrote, okay? And I also saw this in the redefinition of what a teacher of the 21st century is needs, okay, or is like. So I also saw that in some of the write-ups that have been given to us through Canvas. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Any questions so far? Mayroon bang questions sa chat box natin?
Wala po, Ma'am Del.
Okay. Okay. So we can go to the next. All right. So before we go to the next topic, that will continue us on another framework. So that is the framework for the 21st century. Should you have some questions, let us know, okay? Should you have some agreement or disagreement, you can also say it. Is there anyone of you who would like to say something before we leave that page?
Ma'am, I have question po.
Yes, Kingsford.
Kasi po ma'am, to be honest, I was actually reading the entire concept and the framework of 21st century learning. And nakita ko, one of the themes is yung civil literacy. Ngayon po, civic literacy po. And somehow po, medyo nagtataka po ako. Parang nowadays, yung mga 21st century learners ay parang they are hindered to do so about awareness na to participate in civic matter. Especially ako po, I've encountered some of my teachers, di ba po, parang halimbawa po, as nangyayari po ngayon sa eto pong pandemic, di ba po, we should, di ba, we should let our student to be stay informed and understand the greater society, di ba po? Pero po, I found out na in some of our schools, tapos especially sa mga high school teachers in public school, whenever a student is, parang nagbibigay po ng criticism, reflection towards na nangyayari sa ating government, parang they are hindering it. Pero po, di ba po sinasabi po sa 21st century learning na it's a theme and parang it's a requirement for us to teach this. Instead of hindering them, we should try to, we should try to let them explore. And yun po, to be fully informed about civic matter. So parang sometimes po na nagtataka lang din po ako na ito po pala yung sinasabi ng 21st century learning. Bakit po? Ito po in the context of Department of Education, some of the teachers are ayun po, parang ginagawa nilang KG. Ayun.
Okay. Anyone who would like to say something to what King Stuart mentioned? Any comments? Any ideas? Any challenges that you think? Very important yung sinabi ni King Stuart, na it is a theme that we like to incorporate in the different subjects, probably more in AP and social science subjects.
One example po, ma'am. Halimbawa po, ma'am, yung sa Manila Bay. Parang they are implying to some of the student nowadays, especially yung mga nasa senior high school, na pag nagbibigay po sila ng mga reflective comments or criticism towards that, parang people are saying na at least parang maging mapalad ka na lang, pero that's actually intellectual discourse din po. One of the example din po, ma'am, is that about yung kay Marcos, yung mga Marcos apologists po, parang kapag ikaw, isang bilang bata or bilang isang student, parang they are saying, hindi ka pa naman nabubuhay ng Marcos ng times nung tawag dito. Yes, panahon ni Marcos. Bakit ka magko-comment? So, ganon, parang I found it contradicting kung ang tinuturo pala dapat sa school is, to empower the skills to participate doon po sa civic matter. So, yun lang po, parang medyo na-enlighten. Na-bother po ako sa nangyayari ngayon.
Okay. I can see that you are bothered, okay, by that. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone who would like to say anything? Yes.
Yes po. Joniel
Yes, Jonel?
Yes po. I think Sir Kins has his point, in terms of what is really happening nowadays sa atin. But I think po it still depends on how a teacher accepts ideas, including criticisms from his or her learners. Kasi po, di ba, in a certain classroom, we have diverse types of learners, including yung mga, I'm a senior high school teacher, and I can attest to that my students have this very wide civic consciousness. So as a teacher, dito papasok yung role natin bilang teacher. Are you going to instill yung gusto mo lang sa kanila, or you let them explore things, and your job as a teacher is of course to weigh things and see to it that you are not trying to wala kang pinapaboran, or alam niyo po yun, parang we have to stand if I may say at the middle, na wag natin iparamdam sa kanila na their ideas are not welcome, they are wrong, or it doesn't mean that they didn't live during Marcos's time, they don't have the right to speak up their minds. So I think po one of the characteristics of a teacher, especially these days, is being open to different ideas coming from his or her students. Because at the end of the day, teachers can also learn something from his or her students. So, depende pa rin po sa teacher.
All right, Jonel is saying that we just allow our students to also articulate what they have in their hearts, okay? Even if we feel very much that probably it's not very accepting to the higher administration or to those who are in power, okay? And sometimes we can feel that even the press freedom is not working too well at this time, okay? And that is how we look at it. But we don't stop teaching, okay? We just don't stop including some of these things in our subjects. We have the role of inspiring, okay, our students and teaching them to maximize their potential in whatever they can do in things like this, okay, so that we will be able to probably when they become leaders in the future, during their time, they will be able to remember and they will be able to accept that this is something that we can do during our time. I remember very well even my group, we were saying when we had our reunion, we were saying, weren't we taught to be like this? And how come that we did not fight for this? Bakit sa panahon natin, di ba, tinuruan tayo na hindi pwede maging corrupt at saka honesty, integrity, yun ang pinaka-importante. Bakit sa ating mga kaedad, sabi namin, ang daming naging corrupt. Okay, ano nangyari sa kanila? Okay, so we were articulating that during our reunion. But I think it did not stop our teachers from teaching us, okay? And now that we have an opportunity to be able to integrate it in the different subject areas and to integrate these themes into the learning of our students, I think one is to teach them, and the other one is to probably empower them that when they have an opportunity in the future, pwede sila maging Rizal, nagsusulat sila, okay? Nagsusulat sila and they don't stop writing, they don't stop saying their point. Okay? Parang si Father Bert Alejo ng Jesuit, di ba? Ang dami niyang ideas, ang dami niyang diskurso about so many things, and he doesn't stop. He just kept on saying what he feels he thinks he knows and what are the things that he thinks he believes in. Okay? So, King Stuart, happy ka ba sa mga sagot or may gusto ka pa?
Ma'am, happy na po ako kasi parang na-enlighten lang po ako. Kasi nowadays parang people are parang lalo ngayon, parang people are being shut down or
Yes, yes,
pinapatahimik.
yes.
Which is part naman pala siya talaga ng 21st century learning.
Yes. You are not the only one who feels that. I feel it the same way. Na parang feeling ko, oh, bakit parang bumabalik tayo sa mga ganito? But still, it will not stop us from trying to say what we think is truth, what we think is right, okay? What we think is important for our students to know and say, okay? So yun. Thank you very much for that question. So now, after that, we are going into, I'll give you back Sir Bong for this next topic. Sir Bong?
Ma'am Del, I'll do a little bit of rejoiner dun sa sinabi ni
Sure.
Kim.
Okay. Thank you.
Pero I'll approach it from a technology perspective naman.
Okay.
The fact that the technology is already there, that allows the student to be more aware and socially aware and perform their own civic duty. We know that there may be a lot of fake news there. If we didn't have the 21st century skill of being socially aware and conscious and have our civic duty, very few of us will actually shoot down those fake news. And we are lucky in this day and age, we can validate the news, we can validate the pictures. So right now, even if, although yung mga ine-expect natin na malalaking initiatives na magra-rally or critique ng gusto sa government by maybe building a web page or inciting people, those are the big things that during our time, maybe Ma'am Del tsaka nung time ko rin na ine-expect natin. But even in a technology way, just starting hashtag tweet na fake news ito or having a viral Facebook shows already that 21st skill of being socially aware and civic consciousness. So that's where I think I'll come from that one. And technology has allowed that to happen, not just here in the Philippines, but all over the world. It was said that Barack Obama had a very good social network platform and social network that allowed him to be the first black president of the United States. Okay, here in the Philippines, you have seen a lot of those hashtag tweets that shoot down a lot of fake news, a lot of hashtags and tweets and Facebook viral videos for the support of one initiative against another. I think most recent yung kay Vico Soto na maraming nag-ano sa kanya, nagpo-pull down sa kanya, then maraming nag-hashtag kay Vico Soto, pogi si Vico Soto, yung mga ganon. And we stem the criticism of Vico Soto. Okay? So, bumango rin si Vico Soto. Same thing with sinin sa Manila, Ma'am Del, si Isko Moreno. Isko Moreno. So, technology is allowing us to do that. And with the presence of technology, that is where that 21st skill can still be improved on. Okay? So that's my rejoinder for what Kins commented. I'm coming more from the technology perspective.
Thank you.
For this,
yeah, salamat. Maganda yung point ni Sir, especially in our subject today. We can see how else we can be of, how can we be a better teacher using this. Okay.
So, Ma'am Del, for this one, what I'd like to do is just move this to the discussion later dahil mukhang mas maganda dun sa later discussion itong wise niya.
Okay, sure.
So, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, so we'll go to the next slide.
Yes, ma'am.
So, despite all the things that we mentioned about 21st century learning, may thema, mayroong mga core subjects, and then what are the things that we really need, mga critical thinking, etc., etc. So many things to remember about the 21st century, but so many things are being done right now. We don't forget as teachers that Bloom's taxonomy is still effective. Okay? Hindi pwede mawala si Bloom's. Okay? In the life of our teachers, in the life of our students as well. So when we look at Bloom's taxonomy, when just for a review, we look at this that there are certain things that we are supposed to be doing with our students, like remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating. Even before, okay, Bloom's taxonomy already wanted our students to produce, okay, para at the end of the learning, may production ang mga bata, may gagawin sila. Hindi lang yung assignment, drills, and so on, answer the pages of certain pages, numbers of books, and doing those things. But even in Bloom's taxonomy, mayroon na talaga yung we start with helping our students recall facts and basic concepts, but we don't stay there. Okay, we would like our teachers to move into explaining ideas and concept by classifying, describing, discussing, explaining, identifying, locating, recognizing, reporting, selecting, and translating. So if you look at your objectives, and your objectives is only explain, classify, etc. So we are only in the second step of what we call Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, and even if this subject is not about just curriculum, okay, we just like to touch a little bit our curriculum, we are trying to say that with the integration of media into what we call and technology application into the subjects that we already have to be able to do what we call 21st century learning, we also would like to emphasize that our teachers today are called for to apply, okay, use information in new situations. We are also called to help our students analyze, okay, draw connections among ideas, and then justify, stand a decision. So we are asked to help our students appraise, argue, defend, judge, select, support, value, critique, weigh. Okay, we are asked to help them do that. Okay, these are also skills that they need before even they go into what we call producing new or original work, like designing, assembling, constructing, okay, developing, formulating, okay, writing, and being the author or investigating. So we notice that this is a very beautiful, okay, concept that we have in terms of being teachers of the 21st century. Something used before, but something that is still needed up to now. And therefore, we are saying that para yung in 1982, nagsisigaw na yung that media literacy is important. United Nations was already saying it. But when we started doing what we call media literacy in schools, the teachers were not, and even the school heads were not ready to do it. And that was very sad, because if I look at media literacy was started by 3 Jesuits in the Philippines. In fact, one of them is still here, Father Ampil is still with us. Okay, and parang hindi siya maka-take off in many schools. And ang dami na nag-learn from us in terms of media literacy, because I'm one of the advocate of that. But then, konti lang ang schools nag-pick up on that. And yet, when we look at Bloom's taxonomy, nandun siya. Okay, we are asked to analyze what we see. We are asked to analyze the construct that media is doing on our students. What are being constructed for them? How does it form the values that they have right now, and so on and so forth. So let us not forget this, okay, that in the process of learning new applications, we are going to see whether those applications can be applied from remembering to understanding to applying to analyzing to evaluating and creating, okay, what we want the students to know as a skill. Okay, so next. With this, we are going to start looking into the framework, the first framework of what we call framework of media applications. And last time we were asked to reflect on the statement, it is not about technology tools that defines summer model, but rather it is how the teacher uses technology tool in a lesson to promote student ownership. for those of you who read a little bit about summer, okay, who look into our assigned readings that you might that you can do, and you have already looked into it, can I have a somebody to tell me what he or she thinks about this statement? What are your reflection about this statement? Okay, are there other people that have not said a piece today and would like to say something? Don't be afraid, okay? Hindi lahat ng sasabihin natin ay tama, pero okay naman sa atin, because if we say it, then we will be able to reevaluate it, okay? And don't be afraid to say, because for all we know, you have just the best ideas that we have not heard. So it's not about technologies, tools that define summer model, but rather it is how the teacher uses technology tool in a lesson to promote student ownership.
Ma'am Del?
Ako na
Yes. Sarina? Who is
Yes po.
Angela? Oh, Sarina, okay. Sarina, okay.
Ma'am, kasi po yung SAMR, yung summer po, na ano ko nga na summer po, parang sa province. Yung summer model po, parang first time ko lang po siya talaga na-encounter. And then, nung may nag-post po doon sa canvas po, ng tungkol sa summer, meron po ako doong isang ni-review po, yung post po ni Ma'am Rosie po yata po yun. Nakita ko po doon kung papaano po ginamit yung summer model sa pag-modify po ng lesson. For example po, from basic na dun sa word na sinusulat lang po ng bata sa assignment niya, pwede pala itong magawa into another form or another way ng para yung bata po ang gagawa. Basta nandoon lang po yung gagamitin niyang tools or technology. And then yung student po is able to present it in another way para po mas madali niyang maintindihan. Kasi siya po ang nag-create nun. Yun po yung naintindihan ko po dun sa
statement
na i-post po ni Ma'am Rosie na may sample po kasi new talaga, bago po siya talaga sa akin. Ngayon na-realize ko po na ito palang summer model po ay isang way or tool or model or approach, parang ganyan po ang aking dating sa akin, in a way na ini-integrate po natin yung paggamit ng tools, pero yung bata po ang gagawa. Parang yun po yung naintindihan ko. And then, sabi ko pa, paano kaya ito gagamitin? Kasi hindi pa po talaga ako gumagamit ng ganitong klase ng maybe kung sa science po, parang na-remember ko lang po sa tinuruan ko is yung I asked them to video document their activities and experiment for a short lang po, for 3 minutes, parang ganun lang po. And then hindi ko na po na follow up sa bata na kailangan pala after doing that activity is for them to interpret their work, to analyze their work, and then share it to others po.
Okay,
yun po yung aking
thank you.
Po.
Reflection, all right? So anyone else who would like to reflect? Thank you very much, Sarina. That's a good start, because you were saying that this is the first time you heard about summer, and very interesting. We will be able to help you understand this better. Okay, and I just like to ask anyone else who would like to think, what exactly came to your mind when you read, it is not about technology tools that define summer model, but rather it is how the teacher uses the technology tool in a lesson to promote student ownership. Yes, Paula.
Hi, ma'am. So, yung isa ko po kasing gustong i-share during the time na we were doing the training, especially when it comes to technology, one of the things that I instilled to the teachers is that technology is there to support education. It's really not the other way around. Kasi most of the time when we think that technology would actually be the solution for online learning, just like what's happening now, it will really all crumble down. Kasi the objective of education is still, ang outcome natin is still the learning of the child eh.
Okay.
So, the attitude of teachers per se should really be that technology should the curricula should first and foremost um, be prepared to work hand in hand with technology. So, yung ASMR model po actually, this is not the first time that I've heard of it. But most of us right now are quite stuck in S and A. And feeling ko, parang sa observation ko, even with the co-teachers, no, yung colleagues ko po ngayon, very conscious sila na bakit hindi sila makarating sa M at sa R.
Okay. Okay.
um, parang they feel pressured, I guess because of also the expectation to perform. But I
Mm-hmm.
keep on telling them that, you know, the first step in the ASMR model, pwede namang kasing mag-skip talaga sila on how comfortable they are in using technology or integrating technology in their lessons. But if it's their first time to to encounter the ASMR model or to integrate technology in their own practices. It's okay na ngayong taon na to nasa S ka lang. Or
Okay.
maybe in the first quarter,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you can just play between S and A. And then later on, when you have that data already of how you've implemented substitution and augmentation, then maybe that's the time that you evaluate it so that you can move towards modification and redefinition, because it's really difficult for people who are not really technologically inclined, or at least that's their mindset. So
Okay.
ako yun po yung naisip ko when I was going through the ASMR model.
All right. Thank you, Paula. Ang importante, first I like to say that there is something that Paula mentioned, yung student learning, especially now. Okay, we emphasize on student learning during this pandemic. We were saying that even assessment should only be third. Okay? Hindi pwede magiging first pa rin ang assessment natin na napaka-importante bigyan natin sila ng test. Ang importante talaga ngayon is how the students learn. Okay? And ang importante talaga ngayon is that we are doing consultation in every subjects that we are having online, synchronous teaching, primarily because we would like our students to really learn. That is the most important thing. So that when we do curriculum audit at the end, okay, we can truly say that our students is ready for the next level. Okay, we can truly say, itong grade 1 student, ready na to sa grade 2. Itong grade 2, ready na to sa grade 3. Okay, so napaka-importante. Kaya even the other day, already DepEd mentioned that they're not going to have what we call the usual assessment. They are not going to have assessment. What is important now is that they're going to see whether they're going to give work, performance tasks, assignments, work that will help the students learn. Yun ang pinaka-importante ngayon. Hindi importante yung grado ng mga estudyante ngayon. And that is a paradigm shift that we are trying to introduce to the parents. Kasi ang mga parents, ang interesado lang talaga nila ay grades, okay? Pasado yung anak ko. But we are also looking into what we call academic integrity, that we is something that we are going to really look into at this time. Of course, we are always saying na, syempre mga bata, huwag natin sabihin yan because ang feeling natin is that para we are telling them that you don't have academic integrity. Pero mayroon naman talaga sila. So yun ang pag-umpisa natin. So knowing that our aim is really helping our students learn, these models becomes very important in today's work of online teaching and learning ng mga bata. And this model is telling us that the teacher is key. Okay? The reflection for me is the teacher is key. Even with all the technology that we have, okay, it can only follow how the teacher will use it. Okay, so the teacher, you are still the key. Even if we have all kinds of framework, even if we have all kinds of model, okay, kung ano-ano man yan na ibibigay sa atin, the key factor is the teacher. And we just have to respect that teacher who will decide how he or she will do it. That's why, pag supervisor kayo, hindi pwede, yung naisip nyo, yun din ang gusto nyo. Diba? Paminsan sabi natin, ang gusto ko ganito that this is the best way to do it. But sometimes, there are ways that our teachers are doing their work, especially today, that might also be given a chance. Okay, kailangan bibigyan natin ng chance yung teacher. Kasi otherwise, that's why I don't go for what we call just one lesson plan. I like teachers to explore ways of fulfilling a class outcome, a class objective, by using different ways that the teacher are looking into. A little bit hesitant ako sa mga schools wherein one lesson plan for everybody. Okay, I'm a little bit hesitant on that. I'm not in favor of that totally. It has its advantage, but mas gusto ko yun na kung ikaw ay isang teacher, you are trained by your supervisor, then you are left to do what you can, you are studying, and with all the internet facilities that we have, you are doing a lot of what we call knowledge and skills learning. I think the teacher will also explore the possibilities that she has learned and apply it to the students. Okay, so let's go back to our summer model. What is it? Okay, so sige. We'll go to the next slide. The summer slide. All right. So we are looking at important letters SAMR, and this S stands for substitution, A for augmentation, M for modification, and R for redefinition. Initially, I thought, was this ever a model that was used during the times when we said audiovisual? Diba? Audiovisual. We were saying na dati-dati we did not say technology. We were saying that use of audiovisual materials. Then nagiging use of resources. Okay? So nagiging mga iba-ibang work na use of educational resources, teacher-made materials, yun mga lumalabas. Or is this something that we can use in technology as well as in what we call different types of resources that a teacher can use. All right? Something that you can think about as you make your work. Kasi even if we say now it's online and everything is technology, there are still some schools who are doing online with some traditional ways of doing things. All right? So mayroon pa rin ganon. Of course, ang pinakamaganda nito is mix. Okay? Yung combination of what we call traditional or sometimes not so traditional and what we call the technology that we have right now. So when we look at substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition, it is actually the teacher's choice of how to go about this and how to introduce this. So summer model was created by, sir, can you move my slides? Can you add one more? All right, this is what it means. And the next slide. Summer was created by Dr. Ruben Fuentetura. Okay, and he guides the process of how educators are integrating technology into their classroom. So when he started making this model, it was really looking into what we call technology being integrated into the classroom. Okay, hindi yung mga ordinary materials. He also thought that with this model, he can provide the educators the opportunity to evaluate the use of specific technology, design tasks that enable higher order thinking skills, and engage students in rich learning experiences. So how can these four letters as a model help the teacher reach what we call and help the students engage into a really rich learning experiences as they use technology? Okay, so let's look at each part. So let's go to substitution. So when you look at substitution, the technology is defined, the technology acts as a direct tool substitute with no functional change. Okay, so what does it mean when we are looking into this? So what they're saying is that when, wait a minute, when we started looking into this technology, all right, probably yung blackboard or yung mga sulat ng mga teachers noon, or how we use different types of materials, and we are going to, we just substitute it with something else. So for example, probably yung ginagawa nyo sa Manila paper, nilagay nyo sa PowerPoint. Pwede ba natin i-consider yung substitution?
Yes.
Yun ba yun? Yun
Yes.
ba yun ang ibig sabihin? Substitution ba yun?
Pwede po.
Alright.
Yes
Ano
po.
pa pwede igawa sa substitution? Okay, one moment. Give me just a second. Okay. Ano pa?
Ma'am?
Yes.
Cedric po.
Cedric, yes.
Ma'am, one example for substitution is in science, we're asking the students to write their pre-labs in a one sheet of paper. So for substitution, the students will be typing it and then submitting it to the file, and then they will be submitting it to their teacher.
Okay, so yon. So parang sinubstitute lang, di ba? So yung yung Manila paper, ginawa natin glorified Manila paper by doing it in a PowerPoint, or nilagay natin siya sa ibang, fina-flash natin siya sa screen and all that. And for Cedric, yung sa mga experiment ng mga bata, so tinype nila sa Word, okay? So naging substitution yon. Alright? So madali nga ang substitution. Ang ibig sabihin nun, substitute. Just substitute it with something else. Okay? So, the second level that Dr. Ruben was suggesting to us is we are going to do, we can use technology better if we are going to augment. Okay, augmentation. And this one is technology act as direct tool with functional improvement. Okay? With a little functional improvement. All right, so anybody can explain a little bit about this? Somebody can look into this and explain a bit. Look at that. Look at the pictures there at the side. And it says technology act as a direct tool substitute with functional improvement. Ano yung pwede natin idagdag para maging mag-augment yung ginawa nating technology?
Ma'am?
Yes.
Rosie
Mary?
po.
Rosie.
Rosie. Ma'am,
Yes,
there's
Rosie.
now interaction. So there's collaboration that can be done also with the use of those apps.
So ano yung pwede natin idagdag? Can you give me an example?
So, for example, like what we do now with Google Jamboard. So sometimes instead of them using a Manila paper or cartolina for collaborating like before, so ngayon yung Jamboard, they can collaborate even if they're online and be able to work on it together. So may interaction po.
Konting interaction.
Augmentation, enhance. May now with interaction, yes ma'am.
Okay. Okay, let's see whether that is part of augmentation later on. I-analyze natin yung sinabi din ni Rosie. Ano yung sinabi mo, Rosie? You are going to use a Jamboard?
Jamboard.
All right. Okay. Any other ideas from anyone else? Yes?
Michelle po. Hello, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm not sure, but with the definition, kasi I tried using yung Padlet na natutunan natin last week or na-introduce natin last week with my part-time teaching po. Just this week po, wherein the student can post and then their classmates can comment. So at the same time po, meron din collaboration with the answers or meron pong pag-agree or pag-disagree with an argument that is being discussed in the class. And also po yung merong improvement kasi pwede rin po silang mag-post um, um, link or ng picture or image that could help in the discussion. So parang yun po yung nakikita ko na pwede po dito.
Okay, so in other words, we are going to add, okay, something. Okay, for some of teachers siguro, dagdagan niya ng konting sound. All right? You add a sound or instead of just reading it, may background music ka or whatever. So you augment a little bit the technology. So the technology acts as a direct tool substitute. Substitute din siya. Kaya lang with a little, with an additional function. Okay, may dagdag siya na function. So that is what we call augmentation. Right? So mamaya tingnan natin sa mga samples kung correct ba yun lahat ng iniisip natin. Now, the third one will be modification. Okay, and this is the one that initially our sharer this morning, Zarina ba yun, was saying na first time niya to. So, hindi. Somebody was saying, it's Paula ba yun? Somebody was sharing that nahirapan yung teacher. Paula, ikaw yun, no?
Yes,
Nahirapan
ma'am.
yung teacher to go into this, which is it was easy for them to go into substitution and augmentation, but they find it very difficult to go into modification. Bakit ano pa tong modification? So modification is technology allows for significant task redesign. Okay? So how do you go about doing this redesign? Anyone? Anyone can try? Is there anyone who would like to try? Yes?
Can I try, ma'am?
Sure. Aiza?
Yes po. So this kind of modification is that actually if, for example, you assign a student to present, okay, into a class, then a presentation, then this is the time where the students could actually incorporate most of the technology that he has, for example, combining the audio, okay, video, and then putting the text of all those what he understood in the lesson, and then put it in a movie presentation. So that is how the technology has been manipulated already by the student. So the modification is there. It's not just only the substitution, but it's the students who already manipulate and then put the technology into a new learning.
Okay. So in a way, what Aiza is saying that it has become a new form. May bagong forma na siya, di ba? So when we look at this third modification, it allows the learners to redesign the task by using the technology in a new form. Okay, and the tech tools listed are tools that move the outcome of a product to the modification stage. So in other words, let us say Sir Bong is teaching us all kinds of applications. So ang application ba na ituturo natin sa mga bata will be something that at the end of the day, they are going to do what we call a significant task redesign. If that is what is going to happen, then they are actually doing what we call modification in the summer model. Okay? So, siguro sa pagpunta natin sa example, mas maging clearer ito. And then, all throughout our discussion now, from now on, we will be mentioning what this summer model as part of teaching us some of the applications that we are going to learn. Okay, so in other words, modification, don't forget that there is a task redesign when we do what we call modification. And the last one that is listed here is the redefinition. And this one, how different is this from what we call the modification? So here, technology allows for the creation of a new task that is previously inconceivable. So you never thought that it can be done. So, and here, what is inconceivable, for example? How do you go about this? Mayroon bang gusto mag-try?
Ma'am, I'll try.
All right. Yes, Emil?
Ma'am, in traditional classrooms, sometimes you just end with students producing just for a grade, for example, writing or drawing something just because that's what the teacher asked them to do. And what is inconceivable is that they are not able to extend their whatever they produce, this knowledge, to a bigger domain or a bigger sphere. And when I look at this picture, I see YouTube, I see a blog, I see Instagram, podcast. I think the redefinition allows students to go beyond just producing and into actually publishing, so that more people can get to see what they made. So they get to share the knowledge, not just inside the classroom, but also outside beyond the school.
Okay, Emil, that's right. Okay, you just hit it well. That in the redefinitions part, okay, it's not just to create new learning tasks, but we are able to publish it or do something more that probably before we will not be able to do it. Okay, so now we are conceiving it that it is easy to do it, and technology is going to be there to help us achieve it. Like, for example, when they make it into YouTube and then they publish it, or they publish some of the things that they are saying, okay, those are things that probably in the many, many years that we are teachers, we were not able to do that. But the summer model is challenging us that we can use technology not just to substitute, not just to augment the lesson. We can also use it to modify the lesson so that they'll be able to transform it into something, a new redesign. And we are also going to do it like allow it to be shared, okay, through technology as well. Okay? So, napaka-interesting tong kung ano yung pwedeng gawin nitong what we call the summer model. All right? So, going further, kasi we will still be looking into this later on, when we look at this, substitution and augmentation are enhancing our technology. You are going to use technology to enhance the lesson. But when we are going to do modification and redefinition, there is a transformation of the lesson. Okay, so we don't only enhance, we are also going to transform. And when you look at when you go back to thinking about the Bloom taxonomy, the last part there is create. Okay, and we are asking our students to create. And today, even the DepEd is emphasizing on what we call performance tasks. Pero yung performance task, nasa teacher yon. So if a teacher, ang performance task lang niya is make a poster, so hanggang doon lang yung mga estudyante. If a teacher says, write a poem, nandun lang yung mga estudyante, di ba? So we are challenged as teachers, especially now on online learning, to go beyond. Even if we say performance task lang naman yan bakit ganon? We are asked to go beyond it. We are asked to analyze, help our students analyze by creating. Dati-dati sa science lang na ginagawa yan. We discover, we experiment, we analyze, okay, we do things in the science. But now we are being asked to do this even in other subjects, okay? To go just beyond enhancing our lesson, to transform it into something more creative, more innovative, okay, for our students. If in so doing, they apply critical thinking, they apply what we call analysis, they apply reflection, okay, and in all these things that we are asking them to do. And it becomes a very challenging model for all of us. Let's look at an example. Okay, next slide. So the original assignment is an overview of a location consisting of handwritten content supplemented with compiled, cut, and pasted magazine clippings. Okay, that's the original. If a teacher would like to enhance the lesson, so the teacher can go into substitution. So the teacher will use presentation software like PowerPoint or Prezi to construct a presentation providing information about a selected locale. Okay, so yun, substitution yun. But when it is augmentation, okay, the teacher will incorporate interactive multimedia, audio, video hyperlinks in the presentation to give more depth and provide more engaging presentation. So my addition. When it is modification, the teacher will create a digital travel brochure that incorporates multimedia and student-created video. So it's a totally change, na-redesign niya ng teacher. And for the definition, the teacher will probably help the students explore the local with what we call Google Earth, seek out and include interviews with people who have visited the local. Okay? So you will notice that pwede ang teacher mag-e-end lang siya doon sa S. Okay na ako dito. And before the pandemic, nandun karamihan ng teachers. Nandun sa PowerPoint, yung walang kamatayang PowerPoint na yan. Na ang mga estudyante magsasabi, PowerPoint na naman, PowerPoint na naman. After a while, after the honeymoon stage with the PowerPoint, na ano na ang mga bata, napagod sila sa PowerPoint. Okay? Kasi it is not so interactive for them. Okay? But if the teacher will also like to add a little bit more and augment, pwede din. Nandun lang siya. Pero ano ang Bloom's taxonomy? What does Bloom's taxonomy say? Where should we teach? I mean, to what extent should we be involved and ask the students to be involved in their own learning? Okay? Pwede ba tayo lang ang palaging nagle-learn and the students will just listen? Or kailangan the students will learn and modify a little bit what they have learned to show us that they have learned? And at the end, because of technology and because it is open to us, we are able to redefine this learning. Okay? So you see how probably very interesting teaching and learning will be if this is how we are going to look at technology, not just as a substitution, but end it and try to do it all the way to what we call redefinition. Okay? Another example. And this one is about read a Shakespeare play in a traditional printed format. Alam naman natin si Shakespeare, walang gusto bumasa dyan, di ba? I mean, you know, even during my time, we were forced to read it. But then when we had role playing, and then we were very interested to learn about Shakespeare. But the substitution here is Shakespeare texts are accessed and read online. So hindi na doon sa libro, so online na sila nagbabasa. Okay? The augmentation is dictionaries, study guides, history sites, linked to the online text. So the teacher added something. And then for modification, probably the teacher can look into textual video, audio tools for construction of shared knowledge, joint construction of student understanding and learning from use of multimedia. So probably different forms of media are being used for this. And right now, when you open this page, ang dami na talaga. And for augmentation, the question would be, what impact did the culture of the time have on the writing of Shakespeare plays? Okay, what is that? What is that? Okay, if we just look into the play itself, or if we want to look at it in terms of the impact of the culture of the time into the writing of the plays, that might be something very interesting that we have never heard. So using a concept mapping tool, you can construct a mind map to demonstrate the key elements through keywords and images. Okay, to
Ma'am, question.
augment the lesson. Yes.
Ma'am, is that augmentation or
Ay,
redefinition?
redefinition. Sorry, it's redefinition.
Miss, but
Redefinition. That's the last one. Sorry, I made a mistake there.
it's okay,
Okay.
Miss. But I can I also point out?
Yes.
I just think, Miss, that this is still augmentation in a way,
Augmentation. All right. Can
constructing a
be
mind map,
map. All right.
and
So it's
maybe can still be added on, like a way
either
for students to use maybe a virtual tour of Shakespeare's house, or a way to include an audience into their project. Maybe I'm
okay.
wrong, Miss, but I
All
don't know
right.
if
Magaling. Okay. I'm very happy with your thoughts because ito yung secret nito kung bakit nilagay ko to dito. Ang secret nito ay at the beginning, sometimes yung ating way of looking into this is really like ano lang, you are only using what is available. Okay, so probably during that time, the availability is right now already just augmenting or modifying. So there might be other ways to do redefinition. So hindi ibig sabihin na whatever you see there, like what is open for you, pag sinabi mo redefinition yon, all throughout your being teacher, you can use that as redefinition. So, paminsan, at that time, ito na yung pinaka-redefinition nila. Okay? But right now, because marami pang na-offer, so and then the ways of teaching are also improving, so pwede yung augmentation, yung redefinition remains to be is already pushed towards either augmentation or modification, and a new redefinition will come in. Okay.
okay. Thank
So
you, ma'am, for the
that is a
clarification.
good point. Okay, that is a good point. Because sometimes I also see na before parang oo nga sa panahon na ganito tama ito yung redefinition. Okay? Pero pwede na hindi siya magme-maintain ng, especially if the teachers are already doing something at this time, nakakaiba na yung instructional model natin. Okay? Am I right, sir?
Yes, thank you, ma'am, for the clarification.
Okay. Sir Bong?
Yeah. You again, you always have to look at the context of the original assignment. So when does technology come in and do SAMR? If I may add, Ma'am Del.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
If the students notice throughout the module 0 and module 1, I have already introduced different learning activities. Different learning activities and different teaching activities that follow the SAMR model. Okay. So first example, what was the last thing that I asked you to do? Type for, if you notice the last, yung sharing na processing so far, what was the instruction? To submit via Word document your response to the 10 keywords and the paragraph. In a sense, that is simply a substitution activity because you traditionally simply write it up or type it up and submit. In this case, the substitution is using Microsoft Word, and then the submission process, instead of physically giving it, it was given through, through Canvas. So that's substitution. But I can argue technically that it is also a level of modification. Why is it modification? Because what did I allow you to do? To submit it as late as 11:59, which in the traditional sense cannot have been done if it's a simple substitution. Okay? So instead, just using one tool actually allows you to rethink your learning activity and the way certain assessments and um, teaching activities are actually done. Like Ma'am Del said, a direct substitution is whatever was used before. Find the technology and then replace it. Use a Manila paper, PowerPoint, pad and paper. What do you call this? Pad and paper, Word. If you simply add the additional features found sometimes in the in the tool, then you're moving from substitution to augmentation. So the moment you do animation in PowerPoint, from a teacher's perspective, you're already doing augmentation. If you ask the students to use the anong tawag mo doon, to add pic to no na to use the word count, to use the anong tawag mo doon, to use the word count, to add the table of contents and so on and so forth, na automatic, those are all augmentation. Okay? I will go back to another example in the Module 0 and Module 1, Padlet. If I just ask you, post your comments on the Padlet, it is a simple substitution. Why? I'm substitution the traditional index card or post-its na ginagamit natin sa classroom. Tapos i-post niyo sa board. Dito i-post lang niyo at digital board. It's a direct substitution. The moment I ask you, put an image there, then you went from substitution to augmentation. Because you could not do that in the traditional post-it. Yes, you can cut it up and paste it, but what else can you do in Padlet? You can have links, which you did in one of the activities. Some of you added videos na hindi nyo magagawa sa post-it. So from substitution, it went to augmentation. The moment I ask you to comment on each other's post-its, okay, it went from augmentation to modification. Because that is where the traditional process, the design was, the task was redesigned. Because you can start putting your comments already there. Okay? And you can argue, sir, I can also do that in a physical post-it. Pero, it cannot be done with, let's say, 200, 330 students. Dahil sa liit ng post-it na yon, hindi lahat magkakasya. In this case, magkakasya lahat yung comments. And I ask you also to do likes. So it went from substitution, augmentation, to modification. And take note, what we're essentially doing right now is it's still using the tools, but not moving, it's substitution, augmentation, modification. I'm showing to you as though it were anong tawag mo dito? It were a stage, but in reality, and true, in the original article of Pentedura, he said that it's not a stage. You can skip from one of those stages, okay, to the other. So you can go directly from substitution to modification, substitution to redefinition, but just still using a tool. Okay, Microsoft. I will give another example. Google Slides. If you use Google Slides the way you use PowerPoint, your substitution. You add animation, it's augmentation. You add students collaborating in the Google Slides, it's modification. You add a tool like Nearpod or Pear Deck, which I will teach in the next session, you are moving from modification to redefinition. So in reality, you, without knowing it, because you know as teachers the pedagogy and what you want to achieve, you're already applying this. What Ma'am Del and I are just trying to do is show you, yung palang ginagawa ko, modification na. Yung ginagawa ko pala, augmentation na. So, yun sinabi ng isa na, I think, something na Padlet na nagko-comment about a discussion, yun pro and con, it's not substitution augmentation. It's already modification because you went as far as actually letting the students starting to collaborate online already there. Okay? So, maganda yon. Okay? We're just trying to show you, you're not just simply doing substitution augmentation with what is happening right now because of the pandemic. Nagkakaroon na kayo ng modification and redefinition without you knowing it. And it is also because the tools right now are allowing you to do it. I agree with Paula na, anong tawag mo dito? It's hard to immediately go modification and redefinition, and you start off with substitution and augmentation. So, one example again, discussion groups. Okay? If in your tool, in your LMS na pinapagamit sa inyo ng school niyo, meron yung ganung lang style na mag-submit yung students online, use it. And in a sense, you're already going through the first stages of Pentadura's model already. The more you start collaborating, the more the students start integrating it, then you start going to modification and redefinition. Isang ang gusto kong i-share, and this is where I will end because I'll explain that, I'll expound that a little more this afternoon, is my daughter was asked with her friends in their hele to cook deviled eggs. So, ang style nila, sabi daw ng teacher, hati-hatiin ninyo yung steps, tapos i-combine ninyo into one video under 2 minutes. Tapos may reflection sa end. Now, if you were going to do that in real, face-to-face, hindi pwedeng substitution augmentation yan. Okay? Well, technically, hindi. Pwedeng substitution. Dahil ang kailangan nilang gawin, they all go to the house of one person. Tapos video lang. Pero because they can't go all to the one house, they have to go modification, redefinition. And how did they do that? Each of her classmates videoed their parts, sent it to my daughter. My daughter and I spliced all of the videos together with music and with opening sequence, ending sequence. Tapos naglagay rin in-upload namin for her classmates to comment on there. So in a way, if you're already asking your students to do that, you are already at the M and R stages already. Careful lang ha, madali yung sabihin ninyo. On the teacher side, what you need to tell them is the same way I'm teaching you. Because parang ang nagulat lang ako is that the teacher gave them the instruction without the teacher telling them how to use a certain tool. Right? Yung parang ini-expect ng teacher, dapat may isa sa inyong marunong mag-video splicing. Hindi naman ganun kahirap mag-video splicing. Tapos, it's under 2 minutes. Kung under 2 minutes yan, tapos nagbo-boil ka ng egg, ano ka, papagawa mo ng tasty level video yung mga bata, hindi nila yung kaya. So, I had to teach my daughter how to speed up with 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. So in a way, you as teachers, if you're expecting the students to do something, tell them how to use a certain tool, even the most basic tools. And I think that is my principle every time I introduce a tool to you. Kasi alam ko kaya ninyo. Yung sasabihin nyo, bakit, I think in your mind, bakit pa step by step ni sir, when in reality, kaya ko ito. But it's not an assumption that we can make in this environment every time. Okay? So that's why, step by step yan. Okay? Maski na simple siya, basta step by step yung procedure ko. So that everyone here can follow. I do not assume that everyone knows. What I am assuming is lowest common denominator so that everyone can learn. So, Ma'am Del, that's my side.
Wow.
I also introduced that.
Thank you very much. It clarified a lot of points. And I like to emphasize that that is also one thing about characteristic of a teacher, that we don't expect, especially in the basic ed, we don't give an assignment wherein we never taught them how to do it. Okay? The principle is when you give an assignment, you know that you have taught it, or if you did not teach it, other teachers in your department or level have taught it, or it was a particular skill that has been taught in the previous years. Okay? So, kailangan alam natin yung mga skills na alam na ng mga bata so that when we give the work, it's not for the first time. Otherwise, yun yung sinabi sa isang school, anong grade mo kay Mr. Ganito? Ang ibig sabihin niya, anong grade ng father? Anong grade ng mother? Okay? Kasi sila ang gumawa ng mga work ng ating mga estudyante. Okay? So, yun. So that is a very nice, the point that we were looking into. Ang dami nating learning dito sa ating summer model as a framework for media integration. Okay, so we'll go to the last slide here, or a few slides. So this is a non-graded practice. We would like to encourage you, kami ni Sir, to try to get a lesson you did last school year or that you're doing now and apply the summer model for deeper understanding. Okay? Because unless you practice doing this, you will never know that you can do it and that you can do it well. Okay? So, hindi pwede to like walang practice. So, kailangan ng practice konti. Okay? So, hindi muna natin i-grade to. So, when you have a lesson, you try to see, where am I in this stage? Nasa self-substitution lang ba? Or are we in augmentation? Can I go one step further into modification? And how about if my students are really, especially in the senior years, kaya na nila magawa ng redefinition. So we will allow them to do it, okay? As we explained to you today. So this is the end of our lesson for today in terms of the summer and the 21st century. It's not an end that we are not going to go back to it. It is like we have started teaching you this. And the next work that we are going to ask you probably will have reference on the 21st century learners, characteristics of the 21st century, the redefinition of what a teacher of the 21st century, what characteristics should they have, and at the same time, looking into the framework for what we call the first framework or model for integrating media applications in a lesson. Next week, let's go to the preview page, sir. Ito kung mamaya na lang itong hapon. So for next week, what we are going to do is we are going to discuss the second framework, which is a model of integration for the TPAC model, which is a little bit difficult model, but we will be able to also understand this, like how we understood summer today. And then we are going to look into curriculum and the utilization of technology. Also, the curriculum drives the usage of technology. We are going to look into levels of technology integration for next week. And again, we are going to have some media lab work, okay, exciting media lab work that Sir Bong is going to introduce to us. So if you notice, what we are trying to do here is we are going to do theory at the same time with some lab work for your understanding of media application. And I hope you appreciate the way we do things. And if you have any suggestion or any recommendation for us, don't be afraid to put it in the chat box, or later this afternoon, mangungumustahan tayo about all these things. Okay? So with that, we end our session this morning because it's almost lunchtime. I'm sure some of you are mothers and fathers who like to prepare lunch for their children as well, or prepare lunch for yourself. So pwede na until dito na lang tayo muna this morning. Okay?
Ma'am, I have to raise a concern po.
Sure, King.
Kasi po, some of our classmates, ay nagre-request if it's okay lang daw po if yung schedule po ay fixed na po into one. Kasi po, some of them have their commitments during afternoon ng Saturday. Yung iba daw po ay may mga gagawin.
But because Saturday is supposed to be a really class schedule, okay? And the reason why the school will not like us to do any, we will not, well, the school is not allowing us to do like Friday or just morning. So we thought that why we are doing it Monday, morning and afternoon is because we thought that it might help you better. But kung yun ang mga
I think po ang sinasabi po nila ma'am is that yung ano po, yung schedule or ano po, isang straight na po yata. Correct me classmates if I am ano po tama po.
Straight na lang.
Yung opo, isang straight na lang po tas wala pong ano.
Walang ano.
Walang afternoon or walang morning.
Okay. In
Ganun
that
ba
case,
yun?
I'm open to moving mine in the morning na lang kaysa sa gutol ko yon hapon. Yun yung I think gusto.
Opo, yata sir.
So that means, sir,
consult
we
ko na
can...
rin po yung mga classmate ko kasi po ni-raise po nila yon over our group chat po.
Okay.
Sir Bong, if you are going to do that, we can start earlier.
Sige po.
Okay, we can start earlier, like 9 instead of 9:30, and then probably until about 11:30 if we are going to do continuous synchronous.
Pwede naman po because I can offload mine naman a lot to async rin naman po and just come in certain
Okay.
points lang po.
All right, so that's good. That's good. Sir is open to that. All right, so no problem. But how about this afternoon?
But for today, can we just
Opo.
start with the 1:30?
We will meet this
2:30?
afternoon for today.
Yeah. And then starting next week na Ma'am Del, we'll do na 9 to 12. We
Yes,
just
9 to
do the
12.
morning 9 to 11:30. 9 to 12. Mga ganun na.
Yes.
Depending on mine.
Okay. Okay,
Ma'am
is that
Del, Sir
something?
Bong,
Yes.
sa ano na lang po ako, sa Canvas na lang po ako makikipag-communicate sa inyo if there
Sure.
are concerns po.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So, kung na-enjoy nyo ang klase natin this morning, pwede lagyan ng reaction kung something you have learned, not necessarily enjoy, pero natuwa naman kayo na we have this online class. Okay. So, we call it a morning and I'll see you. What time is that?
9 to 12, Ma'am Del.
No,
later
this
1:30
afternoon.
po. 1:30.
1:30? Okay, 1:30. We'll see you again at 1:30. Thank you very much.
Thank you po.
Bye.
Salamat po.
Thank you. Thank you po.
Thank you, Sir Bong. Thank you, Ma'am Del.
Thank you. See you
See you
later.
later po.
See you later.
Nasaan na si Ma'am Del? Ayun.
Yan. Sir.
Yes, sandali lang po. Okay. So, Kins, ano na lang tayo via chat, Canvas mag-chat?
Ay, Canvas po. Kapadlet po. Sa Canvas na lang po, sir.
Okay, sige.
Sige po,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Na-enjoy ko kasi, sir, yung comic sa Padlet. Eh.
Okay.
Na-apply ko na siya.
Okay.
Good.
Sige
Nag-umpisa
po.
na ba kayo, King? Hindi pa, di ba?
Nag-start na po sa Padlet po. Nakikita ko na nga rin po yung ibang answer po sa Padlet.
Okay. Oo.
Oo.
Pero
Especially
yung
po
school nyo, hindi pa nag-umpisa?
October 5 pa po, pero yung burden sa teachers ay nag-start na po. Kasi parang si DepEd hindi pa ready sa modular. So wala pa silang hina-hire. Kami po muna yung substitute.
Okay. Okay.
Oo, print po kami ng modules.
Mm-hmm.
Sige po, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you po.
Okay.
Bye.